You bought this computer, you paid for it, you set it up, and then, without a single notification, without asking permission, without even a pop-up in the corner of your screen, Microsoft installed apps on it anyway. Not updates, not security patches, apps, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, LinkedIn, games, promotional tools. All of them appearing on a machine you own because Microsoft decided they should be there. There is a system running silently in the background of every Windows 10 and Windows 11 machine. Microsoft has a name for it. They call it the consumer experience. And in a moment, I am going to show you exactly where it hides and how to shut it down completely. But first, you need to understand what this system actually is, because most Windows users have no idea it exists. And there is one detail about how it works that Microsoft has never once put in a headline announcement. I will get to that in about 2 minutes. Stay with me. A brand new Windows 11 installation in 2026, factory fresh, out of the box, nothing added, comes preloaded with shortcut tiles and apps for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and LinkedIn. You did not install any of them. You made no request. You signed no agreement for those specific products. Microsoft installed them as part of what it calls the default user experience, and it does not stop at setup. The system responsible for this is called Microsoft Consumer Experience. It was introduced in the Windows 10 November 2015 update over a decade ago, and it has run continuously in the background of Windows machines ever since. Its job is to automatically download and install what Microsoft calls suggested apps, games, trial software, promotional tools, sponsored content in your start menu. All of it delivered silently without a prompt. The most alarming part is not that it exists. The alarming part is what happens after you turn it off, because this setting has a documented behavior that Microsoft does not advertise. After certain major Windows updates, it re-enables itself. You disable it today. Windows updates 6 months from now, and without you doing anything, it switches back on and starts installing again. That is a design decision. And there is a specific method, the only method, that survives updates reliably. I will show you that method next. Microsoft made Windows 10 a free upgrade. That was the headline. But the business model underneath it required a new revenue stream. If you are not charging for the operating system, you find other ways to monetize the people using it. Advertising, promoted app placements, preferred partnerships with companies like Spotify, TikTok, and Meta, where Microsoft delivers their apps directly into the hands of hundreds of millions of users. The consumer experience system is the infrastructure for that model. It sits under a section of Windows policy settings called Cloud Content. The full official name, as it appears in Windows Group Policy, is Turn Off Microsoft Consumer Experiences. The fact that the setting is called Turn Off Microsoft Consumer Experiences, meaning you have to actively disable it rather than actively enable it, tells you everything about the default state Microsoft intends. For Windows 10 and 11 users on the Home Edition, the setting does not even appear in the standard settings menu in any obvious way. It requires either the registry editor or, for Pro and Enterprise users, the Group Policy Editor. Both of those tools are known to everyday users primarily when something goes wrong. That is not an accident either. There is also a broader privacy picture here that connects to this same system. Advertising, ID tracking, diagnostic data collection, Copilot integrations embedded into your taskbar, your file explorer, your right-click menu, your notification tray. All of these were added incrementally over years, each one individually easy to explain away, but together forming a pattern. A pattern I am going to connect to something specific in a moment. The turning point came with Windows 11 and the rollout of Copilot. From 2023 onward, Microsoft began embedding its Copilot artificial intelligence assistant throughout Windows. Not as an optional download, not as a feature you activate, as a default component integrated into the taskbar, start menu, file explorer, the system tray, and notifications. Present from first boot on a new machine. For millions of users who had already been living with silent app installations for years, Copilot crossed a line. It was not just a tile in the start menu, it was a persistent interface element that appeared whether you wanted it or not, connected to Microsoft Cloud services by default, present in parts of the operating system that users depend on for basic daily tasks. The response was large enough that Microsoft has faced sustained pressure from enterprise customers, IT administrators, and consumer advocates to give users meaningful controls. Some of those controls exist, but finding them requires knowing where to look and knowing what to look for when Windows quietly reverses your choices after an update. That reversal behavior is the specific thing nobody warned you about, and it is the reason a one-time fix is not enough. Checking your settings after every major Windows update is not optional if you want these protections to hold. And I am going to give you a specific checklist for that in the next section. Here is where this gets bigger than one privacy setting. In May of 2026, the California State Assembly passed Assembly Bill 1856, a bill specifically targeting digital dark patterns, the design practices companies use to obscure user choices or make it harder to opt out of data collection. The bill passed 68 votes to 1. Think about that margin for a moment. In a legislative body not known for unanimous agreement on technology regulation, 68 members out of 69 voted the same direction. That is not a close call. That is a consensus. Colorado passed Senate Bill 26-051 with explicit open-source software provisions, creating new legal and competitive pathways for alternatives to proprietary operating systems in government and public institutions. The European Union has been applying pressure through the Digital Markets Act, which designates certain large platform operators as gatekeepers and restricts practices including self-preferencing, the kind of behavior that appears in a start menu that promotes Microsoft products and partner apps ahead of anything the user actually chose. These are not fringe developments. These are signals that the legal and regulatory environment around exactly this kind of behavior, silent installations, forced defaults, opt-out rather than opt-in privacy settings, is shifting in a specific direction. Legislators in multiple jurisdictions have looked at what an operating system does by default and decided it requires a legal response. The consumer experience system that Microsoft has run since 2015 is precisely the kind of practice these frameworks are designed to address. Microsoft has not been charged with anything, but the direction of travel is clear. What makes this moment different from earlier rounds of regulatory pressure is that the alternatives are no longer theoretical. For years, the response to Windows frustration was, what are you going to use instead? That question used to have a difficult answer. It no longer does. Linux Mint 22.3, the version we covered in our Windows Escape Kit guide, installs in roughly 20 minutes on most hardware. It does not collect advertising data by default. It does not install anything you did not ask for. It does not embed promotional content in the file manager or the taskbar. It does not have a consumer experience system because it does not have a business model that requires one. The people who built it are not trying to monetize your attention. They are trying to build an operating system that works. That contrast is not a talking point. It is a structural difference in what the software is for and who it is designed to serve. And that contrast is what the next part of this story is about. That comparison is worth sitting with. But before we get to what this all means, there is a human dimension to this story that I want to spend a moment on. Picture a retired IT professional. 40 years in enterprise technology, he has configured servers, managed domain controllers, built out network infrastructure for organizations with thousands of employees. He knows his way around a computer better than most people alive. He sets up a new Windows 11 laptop, clean install, nothing extra, for a family member. He walks her through the basics. He hands it over feeling good about it. 3 months later, the family member calls him. There are apps on the machine she never installed, games she never wanted, TikTok, which she has never used and never asked for. A Copilot button embedded in the taskbar that she cannot figure out how to remove. A start menu showing recommendations for apps she has never heard of. She has been quietly embarrassed about it for weeks, assuming she had clicked something wrong, downloaded something she should not have. She had not. She had done nothing wrong. He had not told her about the consumer experience system. He had not known to tell her. For 4 decades, he had worked in enterprise environments where group policy locks these things down at the domain level before a machine ever reaches a user's desk. IT administrators handle it. It is invisible. He had assumed a clean install meant a clean machine, the same assumption any reasonable person would make. What he discovered when he started digging was that the machine had been doing exactly what Microsoft designed it to do. The consumer experience system had installed suggested apps during setup. The start menu had been configured to show promotional content by default. Copilot had been embedded at the operating system level, not as an add-on he could simply uninstall, but as a component woven into the taskbar, the right-click menu, and the notification panel. And none of it had announced itself. None of it had asked. He spent an afternoon undoing it. Registry edits, group policy settings. He had to look up because they had no equivalent in the enterprise tools he was used to. Settings buried 3 and 4 menus deep. And when he was done, he had one clear thought. A person without his background would never have found any of this. This is the version of the story that plays out in households across the US, the UK, Canada, and Australia every day. Not dramatic, not a breach, not malware in the traditional sense. Just an operating system quietly doing things its owner never requested, on hardware its owner purchased, for reasons that serve Microsoft's revenue model rather than the user sitting in front of the screen. The retired IT professional in that story is real. A version of him exists in every comment section on this channel. And the frustration he felt when he realized what had happened is the same frustration that drives millions of people to start asking questions about alternatives. This video is the answer to that frustration. Here is how to fix it. There are 3 methods. Which one you use depends on which version of Windows you have. Method 1, Group Policy Editor. This works on Windows Pro and Enterprise only. It does not work on Windows Home. Press the Windows key and R at the same time. Type gpedit.msc and press Enter. Navigate to Computer Configuration, then Administrative Templates, then Windows Components, then Cloud Content. Find the setting called Turn Off Microsoft Consumer Experiences. Double-click it, select Enabled. Click Apply, then click OK. Sign out and sign back in. This blocks automatic app installations at the policy level and is the most robust method available on Pro and Enterprise editions. Method 2, Registry Editor. This works on all versions of Windows, including Home. Press the Windows key and R. Type regedit and press Enter. Navigate to HKI Local Machine, then Software, then Policies, then Microsoft, then Windows. Right-click the Windows folder. Select New, then Key. Name the new key Cloud Content. Right-click inside the Cloud Content folder. Select New, then DWORD 32-bit value. Name it Disable Windows Consumer Features. Set its value to 1. Restart the computer. This achieves the same result as Method 1 and works on every version of Windows. Method 3, Settings Menu. Easiest but least complete. Use this alongside Method 1 or 2, not instead of them. Open Settings. Go to Personalization, then Start. Turn off Show Suggestions occasionally and Start. This reduces visible recommendations, but does not stop background installations. While you are in Settings, kill these as well. Go to Privacy and Security, then Diagnostics and Feedback. Set data sharing to Required Only or Basic. Go to Privacy and Security, then General. Turn off Let Apps Use Advertising ID. Go to Personalization, then Taskbar. Turn off Copilot if it is still present. Go to Personalization, then Start. Turn off Show Recommendations for tips, shortcuts, new apps, and more. The Re-Enable warning. This is the most important thing I will say in this video. After any major Windows update, not minor patches, major version updates, check your registry key or group policy setting. Microsoft has a documented pattern of resetting these values during large updates. The fix is not a one-time action. It is a habit. Check it after every significant update. It takes 30 seconds. It is worth doing every time. We started this video with a simple fact. You bought your computer, you set it up, and Microsoft installed apps on it anyway because the system was designed to work that way. The consumer experience system is not a bug. It is infrastructure, built deliberately, running since 2015, re-enabling itself because that is what it was designed to do. The 3 methods in this video disable it. The re-enabled check keeps it disabled, and the additional settings we walked through strip away most of what Microsoft has layered on top over the past decade. But there is a deeper question sitting underneath all of this. If an operating system needs this many steps to return it to a state where it simply does what you ask, is the operating system still working for you? Or are you maintaining it on behalf of someone else?